I'm decided to run with the original Statesman stuff instead of buying newly made Ute style rubbers, which are a harder, square looking smooth one. I don't mind the look of the textured Statesman style, so I think for the hell of it, saves $400, a little bit more work, but technically to do a true sort of do-it-yourself episode of doing your own side molds on a WB Ute out of Statesman's, let's just follow it all the way through to the end and do it on a true budget. So if we stay on this path, technically this set of mint sort of looking Ute molds will owe me about, let's say, $700. So where in today's market you're lucky to buy a worn out set, old bashed and buggered, for $1,500 to $2,500. So we'll keep persevering with it, I think, and make it work. But yeah, I think that'll be the big things today. Glue that on properly, glue it together, get to a point where I can start sort of cosmetically tidying up the joints. Couple of I know what you're thinking. Can I put enough tape on it? Technically at this stage there is not enough tape, and I bought shit house paint tape from Bunnings, not automotive stuff, so great for not peeling paint off, but not real sticky. But I think we're going alright. Have a look at this. So I went a little bit too hard on the glue up this end, of course, but the theory is there, if I leave that like that, I can just Stanley knife it and then just pull it off in a big lump. The other side, I actually tried wiping it and wiping and wiping. All you do is just end up smearing it. But I think we're not looking too bad. When you look at straightness there, that's looking all right. And I didn't turn the camera on for this one, sorry. I did this one first. So that's looking pretty good. So we shall It's looking pretty good. I can be happy with that, and then just let it dry. I brought the special glue back from work, so which I don't think I've showed you that result yet, but it's that. That's what I'm using to fill the joins mainly in the actual plastic. So some of the actual Sikaflex actually come through, and I can probably use that a little bit. If I don't like it, I'll just sort of gouge it out and pump this in there. But this actually worked really well for that little plastic ridge on top of the actual body line there. And rebuilding that, I just taped it off top and bottom, squared this in there, flattened it a little bit with a Stanley blade, and then let it dry, and then I just come along with a little bit of 320 and just rubbed the top of it off and knocked it down. And that actually looks pretty good. Like, apart from being a little bit grey at the moment from the sanding, you could probably just buff it up or whatever, but that's our ideas. But just, I'm not expecting showroom perfect. I'm just expecting something clean and nice where it doesn't attract your eye and you don't look at it and go, ooh, I can see a joint there. So that's all we're after, and that's what we're trying to achieve. So yeah, it would have been easy to buy All Mates rubbers for sure, but sort of save $400. We get to do this proper video showing you how to make a budget set. So well, let's just do it. So we'll let that dry for now. I'm not really in the big mood to do too much more, to be honest, and I don't want to disturb the car while it's drying. So we'll come back and look at it later on. So what we've done is this is the passenger side mould, and I haven't put it on or painted yet because it actually had a hole drilled through it, which is a very common thing for people to do when they start falling off these. So I filled up the hole. I got my special glue from work, and it's a really good plastic adhesive, but it actually forms like a plastic when it dries. So I filled up the hole originally, capped it off, still a little bit sunken down, so I've just gone back over it with the actual glue in a bit of a snake, trailed it off a bit, that's gone. There we go, trailed it off a little bit, and then while it was still a little bit wet and tacky, I found this piece here, which isn't a perfect example of what I needed, but this is a little offcut and it's got the texture in it. So then when the valve's still a little bit wet, I just rolled that over the top to like flatten it down, but hopefully using this texture to put the texture back into my wet glue. So it's hard to tell right now as to how it looks, but we might just give it a bit of a dust of black and see what it looks like. Even with the paint being wet, I could probably roll this over it a bit to add the texture back in too. I'll probably cut this piece up a bit short though for the next time, because it's actually got a lot coarser grain to it, which will probably be more effective in that bit. That was just something small that I could grab straight away. So, but this will be a good little tester anyway to see how it goes, and if this works out, then I can do the joins on the other bits on the ute. So, which I'll probably need to do some glue filling on those, which will hopefully be tomorrow, and then we'll maybe do the old rollover technique with that too. So we'll see how we go with this and get back to you. Still a little bit tacky. Might have been because all the tape was over it, cutting it off a little bit from there, because it's cold, but it's definitely stuck on there, so we'll just let it dry a little bit more before we can play with it, I guess. So it's not looking too bad. A few of these dags we've got to cut back. The join line isn't horrible. Like I said, we've got to fill and file that down and try and make that work a bit better. But it's not looking too bad. Funny thing is, when you sort of stand back and look at what you're doing to your car with these strips, you question yourself a little bit and going, I don't know, it just borders on horrendous to a certain degree. In any other language of working on a car, they just don't make sense. But for WB, it's one of their only identifying markers, I guess. But like I said, you keep looking and go, oh, what am I doing really? But we're so far committed now, we can't pull out. So we're going on pure the other side and having a look at that. Over here, we'll just show you what I was talking about black glue and how it was joining. So as you can see, you have this black strip going along, and when we welded, we melted a bit. So we just pumped a bit of a black glue in there, as you can see, which I haven't got around to refining yet. But the other side, I've already had a bit of a chop at it. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's the actual join line right there. So as you can see, apart from a little bit of glue going up the back on that tape, it's not on the paint, it's sort of built that in really nicely to a point where you're not going to really tell that there's a join in that. So yeah, so that's come up pretty good. All in all, we can't really say if we're actually happy with our results yet until I do the actual joins, tidy it up, paint it, so forth. The painting, I might end up repeating the painting a few times. What I'll do though is, I think, a bit like that other strip we've been patching up that hole, we'll just paint the black over an area, see what it looks like, and keep modifying it until I'm happy with the texture. So yeah, apart from that, it's not going too bad though. We'll keep having a tinker. So it's not too bad, but don't be mistaken, sometimes even the smallest joint can stand out like dog's balls if it still does get the right amount of time put into it. The other issue we have is we've got a lot of different plastic molds coming together from different parts of a car, so sometimes the contours can be a little bit off. Like right here, there is a bit of an edge on that, so I'm thinking instead of trying to shave that down, I might just try and build up the front edge to marry in. But apart from that, the very front joint is very close to being, oh, I don't know, maybe we can actually just stick some high build primer on it and just tap it in a bit and work it up. I was nearly thinking about steel wool, like if you actually put the primer on, or the filler or whatever you want to use, and you actually dab it with steel wool, whether or not that'd create that sort of texture. It really comes down to just finding a tool that's going to make this job easy, and there's already one tool and that's me. So down the bottom, this plastic was actually a little bit distorted, maybe a bit flared out. You sort of see it actually has probably a bit more flat, where this has a bit more curve. Again, it's just come from a different part of the car altogether. So it didn't quite line up down the bottom down here, so I've actually chamfered the front edge of that, and I've actually run the razor blade back along it because it was a lot flatter and it sort of spaced out a bit, and I was more concerned about getting the top to actually line up. So the bottom was flared down a bit, so I've actually just chamfered that, then run the razor blade along the bottom because it's not going to be seen. You're not going to see underneath. And the other joint, we've actually had to have two joints in this because I think it was something cracked and something split. So, but that's not looking too shabby either. So yeah, so it's not looking like an impossible task to do it now. I guess it comes down to how fussy you're going to be with it. I mean, some of those blokes we're talking about, they just pretty much just screw two lengths onto the car, the rear door section and the quarter section, and just cut them, butt them up together, and that was it. I couldn't really do that. I wanted something to be as close to factory as you can get, so when you walk out you go, and I am a bit fussy with that stuff too. Guess it's one of those things, if you've got a couple of skills and you know you can sort of do a couple of things, you try and aim for the best result every time. So yeah, but no, it's looking very achievable anyway. Like I said, you don't have to sometimes go to the extremes I've done with the old TIG welding things together, because you can still see that's a little bit prominent. We've still got to grind or sand that plastic filler down, but for me, to a certain degree, it just looks like it's got a little bit of a dent in it, that's all. So a bit of a buff with some polish, it'll get a bit more reflective and you'll probably be less chance of seeing it. So, but yeah, and we've got this little crack in it when I was trying to peel it off. Most of these molds are so strong they actually peeled off. They took a lot of abuse to come off, but there was one particular section that just was starting to crack, and it might be why I've actually cut this into two pieces, because it was so stubborn. I've just cut it, pulled the section off, and then worked on the other small section by itself. So that I think we'll leave till last. We'll see how well these other joints go. They work out okay, then that might be again a case of just dabbing some high fill primer in there and just dabbing it. But we'll give that, we should give that other door piece a test with a little bit of spray of black, just to see what it comes out looking like, and then we can sort of work out what we need to do from there. So if it's passable, then it'll give me a bit more confidence to start on these. If it's not, then maybe we just got to perfect our technique before we come onto these bits. So yeah, just need some of that wackadoo plastic glue on. I reckon if I didn't have that glue, I'd probably just use a fine filler, like give it a bit of a sand, a bit of a wipe with thinners. Got to be careful with thinners on this stuff. You can actually rub the texture clean out of it and melt it. I just like upsetting the surface enough for it to be grabby, sort of thing. So I've got the plastic glue, so I'm just going to use that because it seems to be working okay. But we've just smeared it on. Just did like a little bit of a trowel. I'm not too fussy about the back ones. So they're all looking good. So I'm just going to let them dry now, and then they can be sanded. I've just prepped this piece, and we have put some plastic primer on that too. I think there's the glare getting there. I think it's going to be pretty damn close. I mean, I'm never going to get it bang on with what I've got going on here, but I think that's going to be pretty close. So we'll see how we go. Just let that dry. Pissing down with rain right now. Can't really hear. Shit everywhere. So we'll just wait and see. I might just try and paint it in this corner. But I might go get myself a can, see what happens if it's weather a bit more. Come out and spray some black and see how that looks. Let's go.